Welcome to Planning with Purpose. My name is Raymond Lavine. Today's topic, the emotional burden of caregiving. It may seem that this will be a broadcast which will be painful or depressing. It shouldn't be. We have all received caregiving, and many of us have been caregivers, whether for a few days or for a longer period of time. Caregiving can be an emotional and a physical roller coaster. You may have love in your family, but there may also be frustration, annoyance, and guilt. It's normal to feel this way. Many caregivers experience guilt for feeling like not being able to prevent their loved one's illness, not doing enough for them, becoming frustrated or impatient, developing their own health or mental health issues as a caregiver, feelings of isolation, neglect of your social, family, and health needs. I have a friend who cared for his wife with attentiveness that when she died, he had to have dental surgery because he neglected his dental health and lost teeth and developed gum disease. You may not feel prepared to take on the responsibilities of being a full or part-time caregiver. It may seem that the role of caregiver is thrust upon you because you are a female or you are the nearest person to provide caregiving. There may be annoyance that planning for caregiving wasn't discussed long before illness, frailty, or aging became an issue where caregiving and paying for caregiving becomes necessary. Caregiving is an important role in our society, but it can be a silent struggle. Many caregivers feel overwhelmed and alone, which can lead to burnout, impacting their health and well-being. By acknowledging the emotional challenges of caregiving, we can create a more supportive environment and ensure caregivers are taking care of themselves. First, let's talk about the emotional strain. Caregiving is a journey, and the emotions can be disruptive to you and those you love. You might feel a deep love for your loved ones, but also frustration, anger, and possibly grief. It's completely normal to experience this range of emotions. Second, social isolation is a real risk for caregivers. The demands of caregiving can leave little time for social interaction with friends and family. This isolation can worsen feelings of stress and loneliness. Remember, you don't have to go through this alone. As an aside, one of the things that I recommend to people is if you know that somebody's a caregiver, don't just ask how is Ed, or how is Mary, or how is Jane. Ask the person, how are you doing? Is there something that I can do for you? Can we go out for a beverage? Can I invite you out somewhere? Third, self-neglect is a common pitfall. It's easy to put your own needs on hold when caring for someone else, but neglecting your physical and mental health can lead to burnout and ultimately hinder your ability to care for your loved one. Now that you have considered some of the challenges you will face, should you become your loved one's caregiver, you can also weigh these against the benefits. For example, many seniors who can stay at home are healthier and happier. Being able to provide your loved one with the ability to stay at home allows for a sense of freedom to do the things you both consider necessary for long-term care. Most of us have a caregiving story. You may not think it is caregiving, but anytime you are helping another person with their activities of daily living who are ill, recovering from accident or surgery, or have an extended care issue such as cognitive impairment, you're caregiving. My wife and I have cared for each other numerous times recovering from surgeries and illnesses. My mother took care of my father several times during their marriage because of accident or illness. Each situation was 6 months to a year. With his final illness, it was 2.5 years of caregiving. My wife and I have friends who live in Rhode Island, Ellen and Howard. Howard was diagnosed with cancer. The first few years he was self-sufficient, although there were periodic doctor appointments, radiation, and chemotherapy treatments. The last few years of his life were more intense as the cancer returned and he developed continual pain. The physical issues became noticeable: mobility issues, falling, lack of sleep, continual medication. I advised them when they were both had reasonably good health to purchase a short-term care plan. For financial reasons, they declined to consider benefits which would have been helpful to have funds to pay for trained caregivers. Because of this, caregiving became Ellen's full-time responsibility. She was able to use their Medicare plan to help with some care services until Howard became eligible for hospice Medicare services. The hospice services allowed some respite for Ellen and therapy treatment for Howard. Executive producer Bradley Cooper is in production for Caregiving, the new documentary on the state and stress of providing care in America. And I'm going to attach this link to the podcast. But what he says is, and let me quote Bradley, "When my father was diagnosed with cancer, that was a wake-up call for me, one that really opened my eyes to the world of caregiving," remarked Bradley Cooper, actor, producer, director, and caregiver. Everyone will end up caregiving for a loved one at some point in their life. The level of loneliness can overcome an individual going through this, and it's overwhelming. Raising this conversation on a national level will help, and together, I believe we can make a difference. I'm extremely proud to produce this documentary. Together, we can help raise the banner for caregivers. Some of the essential ideas about caregiving. If you do not own a long-term care benefit or you choose to be the full or part-time caregiver, here are some suggestions you can do to assist in caregiving and to care for yourself. Allow others to help you. Be assertive of your needs. Set healthy boundaries. Use respite services. Participate in support groups and other social activities. Exercise. Take time out for yourself and your family. Take vacations. Make sure you have planned caregiver relief routinely into your weekly schedule, whether it is a family or friend or a qualified paid caregiver. Maintain your own health. Routinely schedule doctor appointments, counseling appointments, and have adequate sleep and nutrition. Use a monitor if applicable so you can safely leave your loved one for short periods, so that you know that while working in the yard or doing other activities, they're monitored. Invite friends to visit or go out with friends to have social activities. Create a private space for you and your family within your home for socialization. Allow yourself to vent your frustrations. Don't beat yourself up with guilt. Compliment yourself for the tremendous caregiving job you are doing. I wanted to just share some statistics with you about the burden of caregiving. According to the Caregiving Action Network, 1 in 3 caregivers will ultimately leave the workforce to better meet the needs of their loved ones. And this is really an important issue because it's economic, financial, and emotional. So if you have to leave your job because you need to be a caregiving, it's a big deal. This has become an issue with companies where employees who have promising careers need to become part-time or leave their companies to care for family or friends. The cost of this happening for companies and employees is in the billions. Salaries, pension plans, savings are forfeited, which affects families financially and delay retirement, vacation, family matters, and mental health. So here are some things about the stress of how to manage your feelings for caregiving. People have feelings of burnout, difficulty providing effective care for your loved one. Practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself. Acknowledge the challenges of caregiving. Seek support. Talk to friends, family, or a therapist about your feelings. Join a support group, whether it's online or in person. Connect with others who understand what you're going through. Prioritize self-care. Schedule time for activities you enjoy. Taking care of yourself will allow you to better care for your loved ones. Here are some resources that you could use for to know more about caregiving. The Family Caregiving Alliance, the Caregiver Action Network. There are also some others. There's the Area Agency on Aging, the Caregiver Action Network, the National Institute on Aging, and AARP Caregiving. Caregivers are indispensable until something unexpected leaves them unable to help their family or friends who rely on them. Find a proxy. Ask someone to temporarily step in as a secondary caregiver. If the caregiver dies and there's no replacement, a court might appoint someone to oversee the care recipient. Realize that a medical power of attorney or durable power of attorney isn't the same as a backup plan for daily caregiving. Don't assume that because you have these legal documents and they're completed, that they will provide for a substitute daily caregiver. Remember that even though a person agreed to be a successor or temporary successor for the caregiver, it is not a binding agreement. The individual may change their mind, or the person's situation may change, prohibiting the person to assume responsibility of caregiving. Many new caregivers know they will need to rearrange their schedules, juggle doctor visits and prescription, plan shopping trips, and perform regular housekeeping chores. But some do not consider what will be needed of them emotionally and functionally before preparing for this new important role. Some things to consider. Caregivers must master a variety of qualities to be successful and provide the best care possible, including interpersonal and management skills that you may need to have or are new to you as a caregiver. Here are 3 traits you need to consider before becoming a family caregiver. Physical strength and stamina. Caregivers must perform a variety of physical tasks, including housekeeping chores, carrying groceries, and lifting a loved one. Be prepared to be on your feet for long periods of time, and know that your waking hours will revolve around your family members' needs. Maintaining your own health through exercise, a balanced diet, a good night's sleep, and some recharging time will help you shoulder the burdens of your daily tasks. Time management and organizational skills. Do you know what medications your loved one takes and when? How much time do you need to allow to get your loved ones ready to go to the doctor's appointment? Do you know where the medications are? Being able to manage your time and know when important medications are needed could be critical when seconds count. Have compassion and interpersonal skills. Being able to understand your loved one's discomfort or nurturing a trusted relationship. You will be caring for your qualities that caregivers need to hone to be effective. These are not hard skills like organization or time management, but they are necessary when providing care for someone who is suffering from frailty or illness. Remember, they're not feeling well, and they may not be kind or generous to you, and you just have to understand that, and sometimes just absorb. You have to absorb their annoyances. Becoming a family caregiver does not mean you need to isolate yourself and your loved ones. In fact, having outside support as a caregiver is important when you consider taking on the role. The number of family caregivers is increasing as the number of baby boomers continue to age. According to one report, this is increasing from 9.5 million in 2015 to 2023, and it continues to grow. Joining a support group would put you in touch with others who understand your frustrations and know where you're coming from, because they are experiencing the same challenges. It also helps to have other family members who can assist. Bringing family members together to discuss long-term care and assist with issues that arise outside of care, such as dealing with legal or financial concerns, is an action that needs to be considered. For example, determine who has the legal power to manage finances. Can the caregiver or someone else write checks to pay bills if your loved one is incapacitated? Legally, decisions should be made when your family members are competent, such as power of attorney, healthcare surrogate, wills, trusts, advance directives, and end-of-life decisions. You will also need to have backup contingency when you need to take time off due to your own illnesses or simply to recharge. Having a network of family, friends, or even paid caregivers can provide you with this type of support. The best way to avoid the stress of caregiving: having conversations with your family long before caregiving is needed. Discuss your options of whether you want to be who you want or where you want your full or part-time caregivers, or do you want to hire caregivers? Where do you want your caregiving? Where you live or in a care center? How would you feel about living with your adult children? You want to self-insure or shift the risk to a company offering long-term care benefits? Here's where you can contact me, Raymond Lavine, 253-275-6091, or go to my website, www.lavine, Lavine LTCINS.com. Please subscribe to the Prepared Caregiver. Experience a beautiful day in your neighborhood.